welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be another episode of the Championship Roundup, but this video, guys, is going to be slightly different to my other Championship Roundup videos. Realistically, this video is going to be split into 3 parts. The first part of the video, guys, is going to be me rounding up all of this weekend's action in the Championship. Then the second part of the video, we're going to be discussing all the FA Cup action that our Championship clubs were involved in, and then the third part of the video, we're going to be going ahead and predicting what we think the results will be with the Championship games taking place in midweek. So we've got quite a lot to cover in this video here today, guys, and I'm looking forward to doing it. So this weekend, guys, our Championship clubs were involved in quite a lot of drama, actually. So as always, I'd be very interested to hear as to what did you make of your team's performance this weekend. Make sure you do leave a comment in the comments down below, and as well as that, all of this week's midweek fixtures will be listed in the description down below, and then you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions. And I do apologise as well if my voice does sound a bit off in this video. I've got a bit of a sore throat at the moment, so apologies if it does sound a little bit dodgy. And guys, if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure you do leave a like, and as well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. So before we do actually get into any of this weekend's action, guys, I will include your comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct this weekend, I will include your comment on screen now. And fair play to everyone who did get a score prediction correct, because in the FA Cup and in the Championship as well, we had quite a few topsy-turvy results going on, you know. Myself, I managed to get one of my score predictions correct. I think that was the Newport against Tottenham game, which I managed to call finishing 1-1, so I was pretty impressed by that. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and hop into these Championship games. So our first game to go ahead and discuss from the Championship was that of Barnsley, who went up against Fulham, and in the end it was Fulham who managed to leave with the 3-1 victory. And I've got to say, this was probably a classic game of 2 halves, you know. The first half of Barnsley, I really thought they were excellent, and considering how the game then went in the second half, they'd have been quite disappointed with it, actually. I thought that Barnsley, especially off the ball, were playing at a really high tempo in this one, and probably forcing Fulham into a lot of mistakes, actually. So that game plan really was working for them, and of course they deservedly took the lead in the first half, Barnsley, after a little bit of slack defending from Fulham. But the game-changing moment did come just before half-time, as Barnsley were reduced to 10 men. It was a stupid red card to go ahead and give away a push in the back of, I think it was Johansson for Fulham, and of course that then left Barnsley playing with 10 men for the entirety of the second half, which meant that they couldn't quite play to that same high tempo as they were off the ball in the second half. And Fulham, really, they ran rampant in the second half. I thought that especially when Cabano was brought on for Fulham, they had more of an attacking impetus in this one, and going forward they can be ridiculously good sometimes. It was Ryan Sessegnon who grabbed 2 goals in this one, and McDonald as well, but I thought the game really was summed up by Sessegnon's second goal, which did come in the 95th minute. A fantastic counter-attack from Fulham where we saw Cabano go past 2 or 3 players, then put a deliciously inviting ball across the goal mouth, and then Sessegnon managed to go ahead and tap it in. So this result for Fulham now leaves them inside the playoffs, as they are under a fantastic run in the Championship at the moment. But Barnsley now are only 2 points outside of the relegation zone, and every team below them does have a game in hand. Now, next game saw Brentford go ahead and lose by 1-0 thanks to Norwich City, and once again we saw James Maddison pop up with another outrageous effort for Norwich, this one coming just after 5 minutes. I think it was Ryan Woods who he managed to nutmeg on the edge of the box, and then killed a ridiculous shot into the top corner, leaving the goalkeeper with absolutely no chance after that. But Brentford, I thought, would have been slightly disappointed, really. They did have quite a few chances in this one, but overall were quite wasteful with them, really. You know, they were putting quite a few shots wide, and when they would get a shot on target, Angus Gunn, the Norwich keeper, always seemed to be levelled for them. And Norwich, they can be quite a frustrating side to go up and play against. You know, defensively, they've certainly improved since the start of the season, and that was quite evident in this one here today. Brentford's best chance probably coming towards the end of the game when Sergi Canos had an attempt inside the box, which he managed to go ahead and fire over in the end. So frustrating for Brentford, but Norwich on a good run at the moment. Now, next game saw Bristol City go ahead and beat QPR by 2-0 in what was a pretty convincing victory for the home side in the end. But I honestly didn't think this would be the case, especially when Nathan Baker went ahead and got sent off after just 32 minutes. When Baker got sent off, considering that Bristol City were playing in midweek against Manchester City, where they did put in a really spirited performance, I thought that fatigue would fit in for this side, especially in the second half, and QPR would really look to take the game to them. But that just wasn't the case for this one. Bristol City, for pretty much the entirety of the match, controlled the tempo of this one, and one player who had a massive impact on his return to injury was Jeju. He had a fantastic game up front for Bristol City. The goal he scored in this one, a fantastic looping header from a corner ball, and that's something that Bristol City, I feel like at least, they've been missing in their last few weeks when they've not had Jeju, in the last few months really. That's been a focal point going forward, you know. Bobby Reid is a fantastic striker, but he doesn't really have the same physical presence like a player like Jeju will have, and that was evident in this game. He was also involved in the second goal, which Bristol City scored as well, and this result now for Bristol City only leaves them 2 points off second. And then our last game from the Championship we have to talk over this weekend. So Wolves get back to winning ways with a 1-0 away victory over Ipswich Town, and in this one I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit disappointed by Ipswich. I thought that considering the run that Wolves were currently going under, Ipswich would look to put them under a bit more pressure, especially going forward, but that wasn't really the case in this one. Wolves, in fairness to them, did control pretty much the entirety of this game. The goal actually coming from a little bit of slack defending from Ipswich, where I think it was Selena who switched off at the far post for Wolves to go ahead and head 1-0 in front. But after that, I've got to say, Wolves had some great chances to score more than one goal, and they probably should have, in fairness to them. But in fairness to Ipswich goalkeeper Bartosz Bilkowski, he had a fantastic game in this one to go ahead and keep the scoreline down. You know, I can't really fault Wolves going forward because some of their movement did look to be getting back to that top level, which we've not really seen from them in these past few weeks. It just was how good Bilkowski was that he managed to keep the scoreline down, and Wolves didn't manage to get more than that one goal. But this result for Wolves now leaves them 12 points clear at the top of the Championship. And I'm sure this would have, you know, answered a lot of doubters' questions about Wolves. You know, a lot of people said that Wolves were going to bottle it now after they dropped a few points recently, but this result and this performance in general showed Wolves get more towards their optimum level. So there were all the games that did take place this weekend in the Championship. Once again, guys, I'd be very interested to hear some of your guys' opinions, but without further ado, we will now move on into talking over some of the FA Cup games. So our first FA Cup game saw Sheffield Wednesday go ahead and beat Reading by 3-1, and realistically, I don't think any Reading fans can really have any complaints about this one. I mean, they had a couple of chances in the first half, but other than that, Sheffield Wednesday were pretty dominant for this one, you know. Both sides went ahead and made quite a few changes for this one, but it was Nuhiu who was the man for Sheffield Wednesday in this one. He managed to pop up with 2 goals for them, and the third goal that Sheffield Wednesday scored from George Boyd is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. I'm still not sure what the Reading keeper was doing. He just seemed to start walking out of his net, and then Boyd put it bottom corner. It reminded me of when you're playing pro clubs with your mates and then someone goes in net for a laugh for one game and then he just does something like that. It was honestly really bizarre, but Sheffield Wednesday, they looked pretty decent in this one, and as they got to experiment with some of the fringe players playing for the first time under this new manager, I think some of them will have impressed. The next game saw Huddersfield go up against Birmingham, and in the end this one did finish as a 1-1 draw, as Birmingham managed to earn a replay against Premier League Huddersfield. And once again, this was quite a game of two halves really. I thought that Huddersfield did have the better of the first half, which did see them go ahead into half-time with the 1-goal lead, and David Stockdale did pop up with quite a few decent saves for them. But in the second half, I thought that Birmingham really did look quite good actually. Jukovic going up forward, he managed to grab the goal back for Birmingham, and overall he was causing Huddersfield quite a few problems in the second half, where I thought Birmingham probably could have gone ahead and won the tie really. I thought that Birmingham at the moment are showing steady progress, and if they do keep up to this trend and continue this into the Championship, we may see them escape relegation this year. The next game was an all-Championship tie in the FA Cup, which did see Hull go ahead and progress to the next round with a 2-1 victory over Nottingham Forest. And overall, I thought it was actually a very convincing victory for Hull. You know, in the league, they've been going under a torrid run of form at the moment, are literally just above the relegation zone on goal difference at the moment, but you wouldn't have really known that looking at this performance. Going forward, they have been really struggling lately, but this one, the shackles just seem to be released from their forward-thinking players, and we got to see more of what we were seeing from Hull towards the start of the season. You know, Jarrod Bowen was absolutely electric going forward. He was causing that Forest defence all sorts of problems, and it was a nice goal as well from Dicko, which he managed to get. And honestly, I thought that Hull probably should have got more goals than they went ahead and got in this one. You know, since Ita Karanka has come in at Nottingham Forest, overall their play has improved, and they've looked a lot more stable defensively, a lot more organised, but that wasn't really on show in this one. I thought that their standards did slip slightly, of course. They did get a goal back with Velios, but overall, Hull were the deserved winners. Now, the next game saw Brighton go ahead and knock out Middlesbrough with a very late winner thanks to Glenn Murray. So overall in this game, I did think Middlesbrough got quite unlucky actually. From looking over the general flow of this one, I thought Middlesbrough at least deserved a replay really, with especially some of the chances they had in this one. Adama Traore looks absolutely fantastic at the moment for Middlesbrough, and in this game he was causing that Brighton defence all sorts of problems, you know. It was quite a cagey game, you know, there wasn't all too much in it in the first half especially, but with some of the chances that Middlesbrough managed to forge out with the likes of Traore, Bamford had an overhead kick just go over the crossbar as well, and a couple of other attempts, but there was quite a lot of fortune in the Brighton goal as well, you know. It was an attempted clearance by George Friend, which has then hit Glenn Murray and gone past Randolph in the goal, but that's the sort of luck that you get sometimes. So Middlesbrough, I did think they got slightly unfortunate, but this will now mean that they can focus on the league now, I suppose. Our next game then saw Millwall go ahead and draw 2-2 with Rochdale. I'm sure this wouldn't have been the first thing Millwall would have wanted, you know, to get a replay out of this one, but in fairness to Rochdale, I was quite impressed actually, especially with them going forward, you know. When Middlesbrough took the lead in the 17th minute thanks to a Jed Wallace penalty, I thought that Millwall would then just go into cruise control really, you know. Rochdale at the moment struggling in League One. I didn't think they'd offer that much, but they really went for this one, and that Millwall defence, I know they made quite a few changes for this one, but it did look quite shaky in this one. Not something we've been too accustomed to seeing with Millwall so far this season, but of course Millwall then got back into the game in the 90th minute. They just love late goals at the moment, so I'd be interested to hear what some Millwall fans think of this game. And now the next game saw Sheff United go ahead and beat my Preston North End side by 1-0, and if anything, what I thought was obviously clear from this game was both sides did make quite a few changes for this one, you know. The tempo of the first half was honestly so slow. I've not seen a game as dull as this in quite a long time actually, so it did take it until it got into the second half for it to liven up a little bit, you know. Preston going forward, we just seem to have, we've really lost something so far this season, and the only way I can describe Preston's performances, probably in the last month or so, would be by using the word bland. We've just not got much going for us at the moment, you know. That fast, high-pressing football we were playing at the start of the season just seems to have deteriorated, and I don't know why that is the case. I mean, in this game, Preston didn't really have anything going forward until we brought Jordan Hugill on in and around the 70th minute, and even then we didn't look brilliant going forward. So Sheffield United in the end, they did win it thanks to a penalty. I thought the penalty was slightly harsh. From looking over some of the replays, it does look like Tom Clark gets a slight touch on the ball before he goes ahead and goes into Billy Sharp, but he managed to convert that in the end, which does send Sheffield United through to the next round. So Preston fans at the moment, what are you making of everything going around the club? What do you think we're still in need of in this transfer window? And our last game to go ahead and talk over from the FA Cup was Manchester City, who managed to go ahead and claim a 2-0 victory over Cardiff. And realistically, I don't think this will come as a shock to too many people really. I mean, in this game, Man City had 77% possession, which is pretty baffling really, but Cardiff, they did give it their best go for this one, you know, but it was, the tactics they employed in this one did surprise quite a few people, with them trying to go man-to-man with Manchester City, you know. Realistically, that wasn't really ever going to end up too good for them, but the first goal, Man City scored a fantastic free kick from Kevin De Bruyne, banking on the wall to jump, and then he just slotted it under them as into the bottom corner. And then the second goal, I was a little disappointed with Cardiff's defending for that one, you know. To allow 5'7" Raheem Sterling a free header inside the box is a little bit disappointing, something Neil Warnock won't have been happy about. In the second half, I thought that Cardiff showed a slight improvement, you know. They had a couple chances, Hoylett had a speculative effort, Zahore had an alright chance as well, but they couldn't really test Manchester City too much, who you felt like they were in cruise control for this game, Man City. And then we also saw late on Bennett go ahead and get sent off. He was probably actually very fortunate to not get sent off in the first half for that bad tackle on Leroy Sané. So guys, there you have it. There were all the FA Cup matches that did take place this weekend, which did involve a Championship club. So even if you don't support a Championship club, let me know what you thought of your team's performance down below. So before we do get into any of my midweek score predictions, guys, I will quickly give you my goal of the weekend, and I mean, let's be real, it could only be one. Of course, my goal of the weekend is going to have to go to James Maddison for his ridiculous effort against Brentford. And in terms of my results of the weekend, there aren't really too many which are jumping out at me to go ahead and pick them, but for me personally, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Fulham. I think with that second half performance that they had against Barnsley, some of the counter-attacking play which was on display for that game, and it does see them lifted now into the playoffs as well. So my result of the weekend is going to go to Fulham. So now guys, I will move on into talking you over my midweek score predictions. So like I said at the start of the video guys, all of these will be listed in the description down below, and then you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions. So our first game is a massive game at the bottom of the Championship, which sees Birmingham go up against Sunderland. Now you'd think that Sunderland may have a slight advantage in this one as they weren't playing this weekend, so you'd think they'd be a little bit more fresh, but for me personally, I'm going to fancy Birmingham for the 1-0 victory. I think that overall Birmingham are showing week to week steady progress, whereas Sunderland are very much hit and miss. You know, one week you'll see them get battered and the next week you'll see them put in a really spirited performance. So with me not really being too sure where the mindset of Sunderland is at, I'm going to fancy Birmingham for a 1-0 victory. We've then got Burton Albion going up against Reading. Once again, a massive game at the bottom of the Championship, and with both attacks not really firing on all cylinders at the moment, I'm going to fancy that one to go ahead and finish as a 0-0 draw. Although I am excited to see how Darren Bent can go ahead and fit into that Burton side. I think he could be a good addition for them this season. We then see Hull City go up against Leeds, and one thing I really want to see from Hull is them employing that same attacking style that they were playing against Forest in this game against Leeds. You know, Leeds have got a couple of suspensions to deal with going into this one, and overall in the Championship, since Sykes has been suspended really, they've not been on a great run in this one, and I'm going to fancy them to drop points again in this one. I'm going to fancy Hull to go ahead and get a point out of this one and say we'll finish as 1-1. Middlesbrough going up against Sheff Wednesday. Very interesting encounter actually this one, of course. Middlesbrough under Tony Pulis haven't always been getting the results, but the performances, I myself have been quite impressed by them, and with Sheff Wednesday still having quite an injury hampered squad, I'm going to fancy Middlesbrough for the slight 2-1 home victory in that one. We then see Millwall go up against Derby County, and with Derby wanting to assure themselves of automatic promotion really, these are the sort of games which they're going to go ahead and have to be winning. But going away to Millwall hasn't been an easy feat for any side so far this season in the Championship, but with their extra quality going forward, I am going to fancy them for the 2-0 victory. Nottingham Forest going up against my side, Preston North End. I mean, myself, I'm just not feeling too confident at the moment with how Preston are playing in general, you know, and with Nottingham Forest very much sort of a hit and miss sort of side, but I anticipate them to bounce back from that game they had in the FA Cup against Hull City, and I'm actually going to go ahead and back a 2-1 Forest victory. I hope I'm proved wrong for that one, but with Preston at the moment, I can't see us scoring too many goals. And our last game to go ahead and predict, this is one which could be an absolute cracker. That's the Sheffield United go up against Aston Villa, and I mean, this could go quite a few ways really. Of course, Aston Villa at the moment are on a fantastic run of form, so I wouldn't really be too surprised to see quite a few of you go ahead and predict them to go ahead and snatch this one. But you can't look past Sheffield United, especially as a home side this season. The style they play and the formation they play, I think they will cause Aston Villa quite a few problems in this one, especially if their attacking players are on song for this one. So for this game, I'm going to go ahead and fancy them to cancel each other out with a 2-2 draw. So guys, there you have it. There are my Championship midweek score predictions. So do you guys agree with my score predictions? Let me know down below. But apart from that guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.